But I think it's about time that we kicked off our first panel, Frankie. We've got an interesting one. It's going to be going live, event brand activations, and fan engagement. And here, to do this with us, we've got some members of Guild and Reset. So we've got Jasmine, Skee, the CEO of Guild Esports. We've got Nick Westwood, that works at Guild Esports. And then to moderate the set, we've got Duncan McMonagle, the co-founder of Reset.
Brilliant. Please welcome them, ESI. Thank you. Have fun.
Morning all.
How long is this one?
Morning and welcome to the opening session. My name is Duncan McMonagle. I run a youth-orientated marketing company that is very much focused on gaming and esports. And the topic we have today is how key creativity is for successful brand partnerships in esports and gaming. But when we think about creativity, it isn't just limited to the ideas that we conceive. It's also about being innovative in what kind of partnership elements we can bring to brands as rights holders and how we can push it forwards for overall consumers. In this session, we're joined by my illustrious colleagues here from Guild Esports, and they're going to share some insights not only into their brand activations as a whole and how they can make an impact, but also have a specific focus on one of their biggest clients, Skee, and how they've been activating with those guys. So, quick intros. Jasmine, be great to get full name, role, how you got into esports.
Cool, awesome. Hey everyone, thanks for having me today. My name's Jasmine Skee. I'm CEO of Guild Esports. I started as CEO in January, and previously to that, I probably had 25 years experience across sport, music, entertainment, tech, media. So I worked for brands like Live Nation. I was marketing director there, head of music sponsorship at O2. And more sport predominantly. I'm Australian, if you can't tell. But the reason I got into gaming and esports, or got into Guild, is I really love when you get a brief to be able to do change within an industry, and I think I got to do that when I was at O2 doing music sponsorship, and I think there's just so much opportunity for us within gaming and esports. So that's why I got into this industry, and that's what I'm excited about.
Perfect. Nick?
Hi, I'm Nick Westwood. I'm the SVP of Creative and Strategy at Guild. Prior to working at Guild, I had my own creative consultancy, but I've worked with major sports organizations, including the UFC, the Premier League, major sports stars around content creation, including Messi, Neymar, and one of our co-owners, David Beckham, as well. And also worked in large-scale media businesses. I did actually work at Sky and previously at NBC Universal as well, here in the UK and in the US.
Brilliant, thank you. So just to kick off, I think we'll have a kind of a broader question just around the context. So, you know, despite things admittedly cooling off a little bit in 2022, not only from a macro point of view for the ad industry and sponsorship as a whole, but also maybe in terms of the expectations of the esports industry specifically, kind of feels like 2023 is bouncing back a little bit. So it would just be great to get your thoughts on the last sort of year to 18 months and how Guild have navigated what's been a tricky period for a lot of people.
Yeah. I think in that well, I can talk about my time at Guild. I think what we looked at, and Nick and I joined at the same time, was really thinking about working with brands, so we really understood what they were trying to achieve as well as their activation. And so I think going through that tricky time, because I think a lot of brands probably came in during COVID and it was a good way for them to invest. But in the last 12 months, we've really thought about our strategy at Guild, and we're very much focused on our path to pro with the Academy. We launched Guild College as well, and we also launched Guild Studios, so we can work with brands in different ways. It's not necessarily just about having a 2-3 year partnership, which is what we do have with Skee. We've also set ourselves up so that we can work with brands on a campaign basis. So Nick and I both come from Brands World. You know, I was at 3 for a good few years launching the 5G network, and we talked about gaming that whole time because 5G was going to be the technology that disrupted mobile gaming. And so I know that brands have got budgets both from a campaign and advertising perspective as well as a partnership perspective, and those decisions are made quite differently. So the last 12 months has really been about us unlocking revenue both from a partnerships perspective but also on a campaign basis as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. So do you think you've had to be almost more innovative because it has been a challenging scenario, or?
100%, but that's why I think we're doing what we're doing. You know, I don't want brands that just want to do a badging exercise. Like, we will get onto what we're doing with Skee. But definitely at Guild, we want brands that are going to invest in us, because that helps us grow our brand and grow our audience. And so we definitely have been more innovative, but it's more, I would say it's more been a collaborative approach with when we're working with brands.
Perfect. And then let's bring it on to Skee then. So what role does this partnership play for Skee? So where does it fit into their kind of overall marketing mix versus things they're doing in sports, music, entertainment, etc.?
No worries. So the partnership is directly with Skee Broadband, and I think the fortunate thing for them is I think 77% of gamers say the connection is the most important thing to them when they're gaming. So it's very rare that you do a partnership of that scale where the brand can put their product right at the heart of all their activations. So a lot of what we do with Skee is they are predominantly a bit of an older brand, but they do want to win in gaming. And we want them to win in gaming as well. But there's a very aligned product benefit for gamers as well with Skee Broadband. I think when it comes to talking to that younger audiences, we bring a lot of brand attributes that they acknowledge, which is around innovation, trust, being premium, and being cool as well. And that's what Skee Broadband know, that when they work with us and their campaigns and their measurement have come off the back of that, they've seen that they benefit from our brand as well.
So I don't know about the 77%, but I've got a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old at home, and I can promise you it is the biggest thing in their life.
I agree.
Yeah.
So it's quite nice that you get to put that product right at the heart of the conversation.
Nick, so can you just give us a bit of a brief overview then? What are the key elements of the partnership with Skee? And on top of that, how have you sort of designed them to make sure that they land with gamers and with esports and with this audience as a whole?
Yeah, I think, you know, as I said a few minutes ago, I actually worked for Skee about 10, 12 years ago. It's a very difficult business because it has lots of products, and they're very, very strict around their brand, which is very, very, very important to them. And what we've been able to do, and been fantastic to work with Skee Creative in particular, is really push the boundaries of their brand. So if you look at the front of our building, we have a huge mural about the same size as that wall there, which has 6 or 7 different versions of their logo on the front of the building. That would never happen in any other department. And I think that that's not just us with Skee. We've seen that across a lot of big brand partnerships, that brands are just starting to realize the real benefit of gaming, which is that you can go in there and be disruptive. You can do disruptive things authentically. And that's actually something that the audience wants to see. And that's been the real reward from the first year for me, having worked there and knowing how difficult it is for them and how we've been able to take them on a journey and how open they've been to be on that journey as well. And for us as a business, it's great because it shows that they're committed to our partnership and they believe in it. Really what we're looking at as a partnership is, from a broadband perspective, we're looking at how our performance as a team relates to their performance as a product. We also have made a long-term commitment to empowering women in esports and gaming here in the UK, and then also more broadly supporting the rest of the business. The great thing about Skee is that we can make authentic connections with real-world sport, with entertainment, with cinema, with IP, huge IPs that they have some sort of ownership and stake in, and bring them to life through gaming. So we're not just having a traditional sports narrative, we're also having an entertainment one as well.
So it sounds like it's actually quite an exciting place for both of you, because you're, giving them the opportunity to try new things, feeling like it's somewhere where they almost kind of sort of have to hand the keys over a little bit versus their normal kind of marketing constraints.
Yeah, I think, we work with a lot of their agencies who have also enjoyed working with us because of the fact that they can, the gloves are slightly off, the shackles are off, they can go and do things they weren't able to do, and also that they can explore IP, game IP, in a way that they can't do with those traditional IPs that they have that are much more restrictive. So it's definitely been an amazing creative year for us. It's been an amazing exploration for them as a brand to learn about gaming and really explore gaming. And also understand their product, which I think broadband has always been a difficult thing to sell because of the fact it is intangible. And now we can actually give them some tangibility to that product.
Very cool, and I've also walked past, obviously, the mural a few times, and it's great. It's nice to see brands activating in that way. Just a quick one for everyone as well. If you do have any questions, and please do feel free to ask, just pop your hand up, and then we'll make sure we can get a mic out to you. And Jasmine, just going back to it, I think it's fair to say that Skee has obviously a very, very large network and audience, and then looking to be meaningful against younger demographics and maybe, in areas where they haven't had, a particular kind of level of confidence. And Guild obviously has a smaller and very youth-orientated audience that's looking to scale. So how are you starting to bridge that gap? Is that something that's on the agenda as part of the partnership, away just from the partnership elements themselves? Is that something you guys sort of discuss to grow together?
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, but I would say we also make decisions to go with partners where they will activate our brand and support us in that way. So I don't think it's beneficial for us to sell a sponsorship or a partnership and give a set of rights away and then not have that partner activate. I think that doesn't benefit our business, and it's not just gaming or esports, it's anyone that's in sponsorship. I would say definitely choose partners where it's a true partnership and collaboration, and you're going to benefit from it as well. So that was obviously one of the reasons why we are with Skee, but we had a full day strategy session yesterday with them. It's very much about collaboration. The thing I would say about brands in this space is there's so much opportunity to make a difference. And if a brand really steps into it, they'll get much more traction within gaming and esports than they would within, say, sport or music at the moment. It's much more traditional. So that we definitely see the benefits in working with them. They're the biggest advertiser in the UK, but it is very much a collaborative process. We want to feel authentic, they do as well. But I would say working with brands and making sure that they see the opportunity and how they can make a difference is what's really important.
I guess just extending on from that, and Nick, I'll throw this one to you, but so how do you work creatively with a brand like Skee? Do they come to it? Are they open? Do they lean on you and your experience around this audience? Are they already quite savvy? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, let's remember that Skee have Skee Creative, which is also the biggest creative agency in the UK. So we work very closely with them. The team that works across, they tend to work multidisciplinary, so they tend to work across sports, entertainment, cinema, and now gaming as well, which is super helpful because it means that you can learn and from all the different departments. We have open access to their agencies that they work with, and they obviously work with a host of different agencies. And what we actually implemented was making sure that at the very start we all get together and we all work on that process. And that's something we've all bought into. It's very difficult with multi-matrix businesses to have that conversation because you tend to go in different directions and move across. I think actually really it's Jazz's experience working in those sorts of businesses that's helped us to sort of iron that out. There's always going to be difficult processes in your first year of a partnership, but the output that we've done has been amazing. And as we said, planning day we had yesterday was really exciting.
It sounds like you've got an amazing client, because it's not often you can be able to say that. And then I think, most esports orgs in inverted commas have taken very much sort of an ad-funded approach or a sponsorship approach where it is about labeling or it is just about getting ads onto content, etc. And I was really interested to hear the announcement that you guys made around the Street Fighter tournament. I think you're calling it Sweat Room. And that's, I guess, about creating new IP that also you can own and manage rather than being reliant on either a tournament or a broadcast platform, etc. So, if you could tell us a little bit about that and maybe what the commercial models might look like.
The one thing I'd say about Guild is we're an esports org, but we definitely position ourselves as an esports and gaming brand. So some of the games that we're obviously in EFC, Fortnite and Street Fighter that you mentioned, they are casual mass gaming brands. So it allows us to work with brands in that way, but we've also got some great talent from an esports org, so you can have much wider conversations. I think, again, the reason why I think we're in gaming and esports, especially Nick and I, is, it would be very difficult to go and work with Chelsea Football Club, or it would be very difficult to do something with Beyonce without paying them a substantial amount of money. But within gaming, you can still work with their IP, and they see it as an opportunity to help market them as well. So we've done it. It's not just Street Fighter. If people don't know, we ran a tournament with Skee. It went onto a UI of their TV. So out to 10 million households. The tournament was Street Fighter Sweat Room, and it was a knockout competition, and the winner actually won a pro contract with us. So it was an amazing tournament. It was live streamed. They put a lot of media behind it. But I guess that's an example of us working with an existing client where we have created IP, and it's probably, Nick can touch on a bit more, but we've done it with Samsung. where we had a football show with them, FIFA. We've also done it with Valorant and Coca-Cola. So we really believe, again, it's an opportunity for a brand to come in and help activate within this space and use game IP, which ultimately helps us, it helps them, and it talks to a much wider audience.
Probably a great use case for publishers as well, because I think the playbook's been pretty standard for the last 5 to 10 years. So yeah, interesting to see that. And also just looking at how a lot of brands and rights holders, frankly, are moving more towards sort of purpose-driven activities, especially around certain issues. And we know that Guild partnered with Skee on the No Room for Abuse campaign. So just interested to hear more about how that came about and what your role was really in supporting that.
I'll give a bit of context to the campaign, and then I think we've got a short video. But I think when you look at an industry, and we're looking within esports and gaming, there's a lot of inequality when it comes to men and women tournaments that are provided. So one example would be last year Rocket League had 180 tournaments for men, and there were 4 tournaments for women. And I think you could go and put on a lot of tournaments for women, but actually when you start to get to the root cause of what the problem is, 84% of women have experienced abuse when they've gamed, and most of those abuse comes of a sexual and violent nature. And so I do really believe when you're trying to sort a problem out, you have to sort it right at the root issue rather than put a Band-Aid on it. So what I'll do is just play a short video that will give you some context to the campaign, and then we can have a chat about it.
Disgusting, repulsive, it's just not okay.
Sky Broadband and Guild Esports invited men to train in their new immersive gaming room.
This is what happened.
It's game time. 3, 2, 1. Boom, 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 boom. My finger's fatiguing.
What is going on up there?
Stop playing a man's game, little girl. Oh, you're hot.
Hey.
Oh, you want to give me a kiss?
Oh, you. Oh, you. Oh, you.
Hey, come on, what's wrong? Why are you being a I bet you are so fat in real life.
Hey. Hey. Hey, you. Oi! Just spit or swallow. Why am I talking to you?
I can't find out where you live.
Hey.
Oh, you want to give me a kiss?
Oh, you.
Nobody knows you exist.
Kill yourself. Seriously, just go kill yourself.
You and
I just
all
recorded
the
your
women
voice.
just playing a man's game, little girl.
I will.
Oh, you're hot.
Right, hey.
I bet you are so
Oh,
fat.
you. Lucky I don't know your address, otherwise
Nobody would care if you died tomorrow.
What the hell was that about?
I've heard much worse than that.
This is every day for me. I want gaming to be a safe space for us.
Change needs to happen now.
Change needs to happen now.
Change needs to happen now.
Stand with women in gaming, because there is no room for abuse.
But effectively, the video exposed those gentlemen in the room to the language that women receive online, either verbally or textually. And it was a really, really impactful campaign. I think we had some stats back yesterday, didn't we, around the impact of the campaign. And I think you can probably remember them better than I can.
Yeah. Obviously, one that I'm very proud of, both for Skee and for Guild, is 84% of gamers said the campaign came across as very authentic. And I think it's very hard as a brand to go into a space and be authentic. I think it's even harder with gamers. I'm going to say they're slightly more cynical, but when you do convert them, then they really are on board. And you know, Skee there was 200 pieces of press coverage. They increased all their social channels, but the change towards them as a brand and seeing them support, especially women in gaming, which is a really big focus of them, was incredible. And off the back of that, we did run some Rocket League tournaments as well. We also ran some events where women could come into Skee Guild Gaming Centre and feel like they were with allies and they were in a safe space. So it's definitely a campaign that we're looking to build on. But it's just one area, I think, of what we're trying to do at Guild. Some of you may have seen that we were part of Murky FC last year. We're the first non-football team to be part of part of that program, and that is actually getting more black people working within gaming, which is again something we're very, very passionate about. So we really want to focus on diversity, equality, inclusivity, and having brands help us do that really does help elevate what we're trying to do.
No, it's amazing, and congrats, because we speak to a lot of brands that want to get into this space, and some of them potentially have the opportunity to address issues like this. And I would say 99 times out of 100, it gets discussed, you come up with ideas, and then they back out at the last minute. So, you know, kudos for actually driving that through. That's amazing. And a quick one for you, Nick, because you know, it's obviously a very deep relationship that you've got. So you're not just looking at, you know, impressions and engagement. So how are you really measuring success with Sky? What is the kind of the ROI metrics that you look at? And then maybe what are some of the softer things that you're also looking at?
Yeah, I think, and I don't want to say that anyone's eyes are glazing over, but I think conversations around brands are quite boring, right? They are quite boring. And I think one thing that we don't, as an industry, we can't forget as an industry is that this is the esports industry. We want people playing games competitively. We want big scale events. The announcement we heard earlier was massive for London. And we don't want teams to be dropping teams. We want teams to be adding teams. We've actually added 4 teams, I think, this year. Because eventually we know that once Sky have done some great brand activations, they're going to go, okay, well, how many tournaments are we winning, right? And so that goes to your measurement point. Eventually, we'll do a lot of activation, loads and loads of activation that they can measure. They can measure sentiment. They can measure brand value, they can measure audience, they can measure demographics, sales, conversion, and then they're going to go, but what are you doing for me? What's the badge on the jersey doing? And everyone has to remember, I think, that although sponsorship's getting harder, although it is harder to sell, even in football, you know, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest have some pretty unusual sponsors now to try and fill that jersey spot. Our industry will not exist without sponsorship. The sports industry does not exist without sponsorship, and it will not exist without media spending. So that's really important that we're able to get metrics back for them for the things that we compete in on a global scale. It's really important that Luke, our head of esports, ensures that our team get better and better and better, because at the end of the day, when you're looking at reporting against sponsorship, unless you're getting to major finals and you're getting to the end of major finals, you're not getting the results that you need. The one thing that we do find, which is difficult with our partners, is getting genuine UK audience for those events and reporting for those events. That's something that we're trying to make sure that we can work with publishers and organisers to make sure that we get, because if they don't give us that data, then we're not going to be able to go and sell sponsorships, and we're not going to be able to keep that industry going. So that's one thing that we do. And I think the other thing about working with a brand like Sky is that they're constantly looking at how they find their data and they use their data. So, you know, they've had many different ways of looking at it in the last year, and now they're looking at completely different ways of doing it as well. So, but they're constantly providing us with data, which is fantastic as a partnership, because we have had partnerships before that just haven't done that.
Just a very quick check. Does anyone have any questions for Jasmine or Nick? Yep, just one just at the back. Can we, or can you shout very loudly, sir? Okay, looks like 2 quick questions back there.
Hello. It was sort of at the start of the talk, so sorry for not putting my hand up sooner. Jasmine, you mentioned, at least when talking about Sky, that a big focus for them was premium, or you used the word premium. So for me, hearing that, I always think, in my head, Sky are positioning themselves for customers for the future and, you know, trying to get as many customers as possible. Obviously, not as linear as that, but how are you positioning the partnership as something premium for the future, or premium to an audience looking to switch to Sky, or maybe this is more broadband focused, but I'm interested in like an expand on what premium means.
Good question. So I guess when you think about broadband, the premium is probably more around that reliability and trust. So they're the 2 things that are incredibly important, but they're not really a differentiator in the market for them. I think when you think about esports, and this is probably a very general comment, but we aren't a regulated industry, so there's not a governing body like you have with traditional sport. And so when a brand comes in, there's a sense of, we're listed, if anyone doesn't know, we're on the LSE, so there's a sense of assuring to them that we're going to take care of their brand as well. So I guess when I say premium, we want to give brands some assurance that our players will do the right things, they won't tweet bad things, they'll perform, that we are thinking about all the things within the industry that do need to get fixed. But I think that's really important, and I would say as an industry is we aren't, like I was talking to Duncan, but we aren't competing with, we should not be competing with each other. Like brands have money, and when it comes to sponsorship, they're thinking about sport, they're thinking about music, film, the arts, and gaming is all on their radar. There would not be a brand that is not talking about gaming. And so as an industry, we have to start working together to work with brands to take this revenue off more traditional sectors, because there's so much more that brands can be doing in our space.
Thank you so much.
Time-wise, I think we're just about up, guys, but I thought I'd just end on quite a fun, quick question for both of you, especially given that you've been at Guild, I think, for less than 12 months, or just coming up to a year? Okay, so if you could have known one thing a year ago, what would you want it to have been? Either of you can go first.
One thing a year ago.
What's the one thing you wish you'd known?
I think I wish we had an entrance on the front of our building rather than on the back of our building. That would have been helpful.
Practical, I like it.
One thing I wish I'd known. Sorry, I'm just trying to work that one out.
I can keep going. I got loads.
Is the kitchen in the right area? Or?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I wish that I'd known that hotel prices would go up as much as they do, so that boot camps don't cost us as much to bring our players. All of those.
All right, Nick's answered me as well. Sorry.
All right, some sage advice for us all to live our lives by. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Duncan.
That's this
Thank you,
session.
everyone.